スタジオ3万
Like, there was a good half hour just dedicated to Bewitched songs, and I was like,
Wow.
how many songs did they have?
I mean, they were the first act to get the first 4 singles to number 1. Obviously, you got C'est La Vie, and then they did Roller Coaster, Blame It on the Weatherman, and then it was To You I Belong, which was their Christmas single. But cleverly, they released it 2 weeks before Christmas, so it wasn't going up for Christmas number 1. So it had a good chance to get number 1, and it did, Reg.
Well done. You know far too much about Bewitched without any sort of prior research going into this. Yo, yo, yo! Welcome to this week's edition of the Nerd OD podcast. It is I, Mr. Reg.
Look at you trying to sound all cool.
And being
Yo, yo, yo.
hip to the hoppity.
Exactly. Oh, and it's Dan, by the way. Hi.
I thought it was Sean for a minute.
Oh, no.
And then I realised it was a Nerd OD podcast, so then I should have thought.
Then you realised there was anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, never mind. I mean, you never know. He might be interested in our new podcast that we're putting together, Reg.
The one he won't be on because he can't come on this one.
Maybe. That's true. That's true. I feel like, yeah, that should be a qualifying factor of whether you're allowed to feature on our new podcast that we're going to be doing that we're not going to talk about just yet, but you have to have been on at least one Nerd OD podcast in the space of, I mean, we could be generous and say 6 months, but I'm not even sure I would cover it.
No, I think Christmas was literally the last one he was on, the Nerd OD one.
Oh, so there you go, 8 months.
So, yeah. Wow.
But just think, when Sean eventually comes back on the show, think about how much he's going to have to talk about. So much stuff. Like, we're just going to be able to just sit back and just let him just go for it.
There's going to be like a 3-hour special dedicated to electric cars and robots in his house.
Yeah, him and his crypto money, eh? Anyway, this isn't the Sean podcast, the Sean OD podcast. Imagine. This is the Nerd OD podcast where Dan and Reg and anyone else who fancies joining us but never does sit and chat with each other about random things that have been happening in our lives and also things that are from the Nerdverse. Nerdverse.
So
together. Why am I singing the Hang Time theme? Because you went Nerdverse.
Exactly. That is how easy it is. So there's an advert that keeps coming up at the moment on like Nick Jr. for Rainbow is the brand, and it's some kids toy things, but it's like Rainbow, and I'm like, Wayne's World. It's literally Wayne's World, and they've just ripped it straight
Rainbow.
off. And I'm just like,
colorful time, it's excellent.
Rainbow. It blatantly is that. And no one will tell me otherwise. And it's really infuriating how they've just managed to get away with it. It really is. But hey ho. How are you, Mr. Dan?
Speaking of which, I watched Muppets Most Wanted yesterday, and it's such a good and underrated film.
That is.
As is anything to do with the Muppets.
That's the one with I am Kermit the Frog.
Kermit the Frog. And the guy out of Modern Family, the dad out of Modern Family, as like a sort of Inspector Clouseau type character.
It's so good. I love that. I can't wait for the Haunted Mansion.
Oh yeah, we talked about that last week, didn't we? But other than that, I went to a wedding, Reg.
What?
Like, I mean, it's not often I go on Facebook, but I went on Facebook today and yesterday to have a look at some of the photos from this wedding and stuff like that, and scrolling through and sort of catching up on what I've not really seen. So many people got married in this last week.
Have they?
Like, there's about 4 people on my feed at least that are like, oh, just got married or gone to a wedding. Just seems to have been like this last week. It feels like it's probably just the right amount of time since Boris allowed people to gather indoors to get married. But far enough away that people were like, well, let's just play it safe a little bit and give us a little bit more leeway. So it probably all just landed on this weekend. Because, yeah, like I say, at least 3 or 4 people putting photos and checking in at weddings and things like that. But it was very bizarre being around so many people and no one really caring that they're around people. And I worried this would happen, that it would be. I'm the sort of person that would find it difficult to sort of go back to how it was. Like I'm still walking around, going into shops wearing a mask, and I know plenty of people are, so that's fine. But yeah, even like we had I think I talked about it a few weeks ago. We had a gig that we were going to go to that got cancelled in the end, which is fine. But I was like, yeah, going to a gig, but inside I was like, just people. I'm going to be around people again. Going to be people like less than a foot away from me. What is going on with the world? It just isn't right. It's just, I don't know. It's bizarre. It's going to take a while, I think, for a lot of people, me included, to get back to not even thinking about it. So I don't know. It's a wonderful wedding, though. Lovely wedding. Great food, because that's probably the second most important thing at a wedding, really, isn't it? After the happy couple and all that rubbish, it's the food.
But the thing is, the food is probably the most important thing in a wedding, because
I'm only saying the other way around because I don't know whether they'll listen to this. Probably not, but just in case.
But yeah, because we panic so much over the whole what we're going to do, what we're going to have, and because you just want everyone to be satisfied, and you don't want them to go around going like, oh, I can't believe they cheaped out on the food. And that is the first and foremost in the front of your mind, and there's going to be photos of it everywhere. Obviously there will be of the bride and groom and stuff. We were expecting people to put photos up and stuff of us and whatnot, but we just needed the food to be amazing, because I don't care if they don't think oh my God, Ash looks like the most beautiful bride in the world, because she was. Yeah, and obviously I was amazing, but we wanted the food to be good, because when they're going to start talking, everyone always mentions the food.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it is 100% the most important thing, I reckon, in my eyes, for a wedding.
Yeah, it's fair enough. And basically, you're basically paying for a 3-course, supposedly, hopefully, 5-star meal for 60 of your closest friends and relatives, really, aren't you?
Yeah, it's ludicrous.
It's insane.
It's even worse when you start walking around as the groom, and you walk around chatting to people after you finish your meal. You'd be like, oh, now's a good chance to go walk around, and you're like, oh yeah, I've noticed you haven't touched anything. And, I haven't just paid 30 quid for that meal for you. It's fine,
No, I know. You've just got to. It's a drop in the ocean, though, isn't it, Red? You just got to think of just forget about it. That the one or two people who was. Imagine at the moment, especially, you've got. There's very, very straightforward and valid reasons for people not to go at the last minute, because they got pinged or whatever to say they've got to self-isolate, or they've got the COVID. So there are going to be people missing that you've paid for, and I don't know what the hotels and country houses and caterers and whatever are like in terms of going, all right, we'll let you off on those 3 meals. You probably automatically straight away throw in 120, 200 pounds down the drain, really, aren't you, on paying for food for people who don't turn up?
See, I had the opposite. I had someone who just turned up that wasn't invited for this.
I was hoping you wouldn't segue into that.
Mate, you set that up perfectly. It had to be done.
Not intentionally. It was only as it was coming out of my mouth, I was like, oh yeah. But everyone knows the story about how Sean turned up to your wedding when he wasn't invited. But technically kind of was, because you did it when you were very drunk. But there was a misunderstanding. And anyway, yeah. But yeah, it was nice to sort of do something normal again. It was out. There's funny laws about weddings, right, where you're not allowed to get married outside. Yeah, I don't know whether do you know about that? Yeah. So you are not
now in COVID times.
No, you are physically not allowed to get married without a roof over your head. It's not legal, which is why. So we have a friend who got married recently that I couldn't go because we got pinged by association. But anywho, the point is they were getting married outside. They went to a town hall or whatever the morning of or the day before, just in the normal everyday, clothes with the mum and dad, and got officially married there. So then they could get married in front of people, dressed properly and all that sort of stuff, as it was. But yeah, you've got to physically have a roof over your head.
What about because we got asked if we wanted to get married inside or outside at the Grosvenor Pulford. So if we would have said outside, we would have had to go to the registry office.
Well, do they have like a like a bandstand or something like that?
Oh, that's all right, as long as you've got like a.
Got to have a roof over your head. So this is what I'm getting at. There was like this. There were these doors from the main function room, and then there was a big patio. That's where all the chairs were set up. But between the doors and the patio, there was a little bit of a sort of I don't know what you call it. The floor above you jutted out a bit, and there was pillars holding that up. So they got married under that while everyone else was sat in the sun. So that's just one of the English rules. It's weird.
That's so
not the
crazy.
same in that many countries, to be fair, but in the UK, I mean, no, I'm 99% certain this is right. It definitely was the case when I was getting married, and from everything I've seen, it's the same now. I expected them to change it with COVID to go fine. Look, get married outside.
Yeah, we prefer it if you were outside.
Yeah, exactly, but apparently not, because like say our friend had to get married in a town hall before the actual wedding. So yeah, it's very, very weird, but yeah, it's fun, and I don't think I ever expected when obviously the DJ was on and there was the party bit at the end of the night. I usually expect a little bit of cheese to come on. Usually get something like Steps and whatever boys, Backstreet Boys or something like that. They played Bewitched. They played C'est la Vie by Bewitched, and if I was drinking, I would have completely lost my shit, because that's just the pop song of my childhood. That Bewitched were so cheesily bad but amazing at the same time. I just something was about them back when I was I don't even want to say a kid, because I was in sixth form, I think. No, GCSE maybe. It's around then, 15, 16. But yeah, it's great. They were so good.
I didn't realize how many songs they had, because me and Ash were watching, I can't remember what we were doing. We were doing something and we just had on the music channels, just in the background. And one of them, it was the main singer. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but it was like her journey through like her musical career. Yeah. And there was a good half hour just dedicated to bloody Bewitched songs. And I was like, wow. How many songs did they have?
I mean, they were the first act in British musical history to get the first 4 singles to number 1. So four number 1 singles off one album. Even the Spice Girls didn't do it. Their 4th single was like a number 2. That's not a comment on quality.
Well, it is but yeah.
Maybe. Because obviously you got C'est la Vie, and then they did the Roller Coaster, and then what else did they have? Blame It on the Weatherman, and then it was To You I Belong, which was a sort of Christmas single, but cleverly they released it 2 weeks before Christmas, so it wasn't going up for Christmas number 1, so it had a good chance to get number 1, and it did, Reg.
Well done. You know far too much about Bewitched without any sort of knowledge, like prior research going into this.
Yeah, great. Yep. Just quality, absolute quality. But anyway, it's not important. My love for 90s pop group isn't important.
Oh God, sorry. I had to mute myself because I was just dying then. With coughing, because I inhaled far too much. I don't know when to laugh then. And then, sorry.
Sorry to make you breathe.
And it's just wow. Just you know far too much about Bewitched, like completely. I love it. But yeah,
welcome. But other than going to a wedding, I went to see Free Guy.
Oh, is it good?
So, I know you'll probably want to see it, right?
Yeah.
So I'll try and avoid sort of spoilers, but I mean, it's a decent film. It is a good film. It's one of those, whenever there's a movie like this where it's so pop culture heavy, it's really touch and go whether it's going to be over the top, and really try hard. This sort of straddles a line pretty well, but there's the thing that made me not absolutely love it, I think, is that it was a little bit too much at times. Like, it was so, I don't know, it was trying to pander to a lot of the video game crowd, that because let's face it, video games are bigger than they've ever been, and the sort of 2 or 3 that are just humongous, the likes of Fortnite and whatnot, and Grand Theft Auto 5, things like that. And they just, it was very much like they would squeeze in any little reference to anything like that they could throughout the film. And obviously, because there's a lot of streamers out there that are really popular now. Do you know how in films where they'll keep cutting away to people, like in a Truman Show, keeps cutting away to people sat there watching the Truman Show, and you get their reactions and whatnot. Okay, so the game towards the end, the finale, they're streaming what is happening in the Free Guy, in the Free City game, and all the people around the world are watching. Like, there's 90-year-old people sat in ramen restaurants in Japan, like watching this video game on the TV, and then it keeps cutting over to like Pokemon will appear, or Jacksepticeye, or Dan the Diamond Minecraft guy, or like all these really famous streamers, and it's them going, yeah, who is this guy in this game? He's just appeared and he's really cool, and I can't believe how popular this guy's become in this game. It's just, and because none of them are actors, barely any of them could deliver a line convincingly either, but it just seems really, I don't know, over the top, trying to make people go like, oh yeah, my favorite streamer's in it, I'm going to go and watch this film. Oh yeah, they referenced my favorite game, I'm going to go and watch it. There was a bit of a redeeming moment towards the end, in the finale, where there's 3 references that pop up that I was actually genuinely like, yes, all right, yes, even better. Oh my goodness, this is actually the greatest thing ever. And then they go and ruin it by bringing Fortnite reference into it immediately after. So I was trying to wrestle with this about just being like, is this just too much, or should I just forget about it and just enjoy the film? And if I take all that out of it, it's a decent film. It's nice that there is such a big, successful video game movie for once. Even if it's not based on an actual video game. I'll tell you that probably the worst thing in the film, apart from a few of the annoying references, and I didn't expect it, because this is one of the things I was looking forward to the most, but Taika Waititi is as the sort of the villain, and generally anything he's in, he's very good. He's very good at comedy as well. Like, if you've ever seen What We Do in the Shadows, or some variation that, I forget exactly the name of it, but it's the Staten Island vampire family. Yeah. It's got Jermaine Clement and Matt Berry and a few other people in it. And his comedy stuff is brilliant. Even Jojo Rabbit as well. He's great. But in this, he's just really, really over the top, trying to be this guy who thinks he's all that. He like runs this massive video game company, and he tries to bring in all these little references and cool phrases, and he's just annoying. He's not really funny, unfortunately. But apart from that, decent film. It's one of the better films to go and see at the minute. I can't decide whether I thought that was better than Suicide Squad though. So in terms of, I know your time, Reg, is very limited. And if you're going to go and see a film, you're probably only going to get a chance to go and see one film, right?
So what I would do,
yes,
is, seeing as it's only on a 45 day window for theatrical release, because it didn't go to Disney Plus, it's going to Disney Plus for free after that.
After 45 days,
same as Shang-Chi.
Ah, right. Okay. I didn't
Yeah.
realize it'd be so soon.
Yeah, they've literally just said it's 45 days and then going straight to Disney Plus.
Mm.
That,
Oh,
the
fair
only
enough.
thing is that's the wording they've used, but they haven't given a date. So they've just said after the 45 days, it's going straight to D Plus, no premium access. And I was like, so after a month and a half, it's literally going to be able for me to watch. Like,
Interesting.
right
Oh, well,
away
that's
on that.
good. I would 100% say it's sit and watch it at home, and it's a fun movie sort of thing. But whether it's go, like say, use your one chance to go to the cinema every however long,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about that. It's weird. Like I forgot that it was technically a Disney movie because it's a Fox movie, right?
Mm.
And I'm curious how much, because there's at least 2 or 3 references in it which are like very, very Disney. Like if it was Fox before Disney, they would not have been able to do it.
Right.
So obviously this film was supposed to come out a year ago. When did the Disney Fox merger finish? It was about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, something like that. It wasn't ages ago, was it?
No.
So I'm curious whether these bits were part of the reshoots that they did in the meantime. In the extra year they had, because the bits where they do reference the Disney stuff actually are some of the really good bits. So it works really well. But I totally forgot that it was a Disney movie, and then something happens, and I'm like, oh yeah, actually, of course, it's a Fox movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very weird.
And Disney have just greenlit the second one as well. And they've just said, yeah, we're happy. And Ryan Reynolds has tweeted about it, going,
no doubt. Because I mean, yeah, it feels like the people in the States, especially, which is more the sort of the litmus test for if a film is going to get a sequel, if it's really popular or not. It seemed to have got a lot of buzz about it. People seem to be going, picking a move, like really excited to get back to the cinemas. So there's a lot of these new release films are having some really big opening weekends. I mean, granted, they're dropping off massively because most of these films are going to streaming, but at least with this one isn't, or at least 45 days is long enough for people to go, oh, well, I'm still going to go and see it at the cinema. I'll watch it again on, on Disney Plus or whatever.
Yeah.
Because Suicide's had a 75% drop off, apparently.
Since it went straight onto the stream.
Because it was on HBO Max. And obviously, Black Widow. I don't think we talked about it, but Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney because she was owed. Part of her deal was to get paid based on the box office performance, but because they released it straight onto streaming as well, she doesn't get any cut of the money that they make on Disney Plus, which just seems so wrong.
Well, they've now parted ways now, haven't they?
I mean, unsurprisingly, I don't think there was. I think they were done anyway. I think it didn't feel like there was room for another Black Widow film.
No, but it's just for like anything you want to utilize her in now, for like, because they said, oh, as soon as that done well, we're going to explore other people's what they were doing prior to it. Doesn't mean that they're no longer in the universe and blah 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 blah. But obviously with her now parting ways, that her character won't be able to be used in any of the other ones now, which is a bit of a shame. I know she wasn't the greatest. Like, I was not arsed in the slightest when she, spoiler, died in Endgame.
Yeah, you don't need to spoil it. Don't worry about that. If people don't know that that's what happened, then there's issues there. If you're that interested, you'd have watched it by now.
Yeah, I was going to say, up until about 3 months ago, Ash would have had no idea.
Yeah, but if she cared that much, she'd have gone out of her way to watch it.
Okay.
That's my theory. Like, if something's out for that long and you still haven't watched it, maybe you don't care enough. So why would you care about spoilers?
I mean, granted, it does make sense in the natural way of thinking about it. Sometimes there's just unfortunate things that happen, which mean you can't. But at the same time, I'm in complete agreement. Whereas, anything that comes out that you want to talk about, give it, a week, 2 weeks, and then we can go, right, let's talk about it.
Now, things like TV series, I think, are a little bit different, especially with streaming stuff. Feels like you have the opportunity to watch stuff, within that first week before the next episode, which is why we've talked about things like WandaVision pretty soon after, an episode's aired. But yeah, talking about a film, I feel like there's definitely a sort of a longer moratorium on talking about the stuff in the film. But what are we on? 3 years, 4 years since Endgame? I think we're pretty safe with that. Wait, didn't Disney and Marvel give everyone permission? Pretty sure that was the one thing that they said. All right, please don't spoil it. Thanos demands your silence. And then
yes.
a month later, 3 weeks later or something, they were like, okay, right, it's fine now. Thanos is fine with it.
Fair enough.
Makes sense. I don't know. But yeah, at least Free Guy is, like, say, the one thing it's not immediately on streaming. It's probably the first big one, right?
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else that hasn't straight away been available, whether it was to buy or free. I know not over here. We didn't get the HBO Max free stuff, but
So irritating.
Never mind. I still haven't seen. I'm waiting for Pig to be released.
Yeah, it's been voted as his highest rated film of all time.
This is, for anyone who doesn't know, the Nicolas Cage film, which is kind of John Wick with a pig. Someone kills his pig or kidnaps his pig, and he decides he wants to go after the person who killed his pig. He's like an artisan.
He's not dead yet.
What's that?
He said his pig isn't dead. He just kidnapped his pig.
Oh, phew! There you go. There we go.
But then we don't know what happens in the film.
No, we don't. Exactly.
He might get killed in the film. Who knows? Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah, still waiting for that to come on. I probably will go and watch that because I'm very intrigued. And I think next week is Snake Eyes. In fact, Wednesday it comes out is Snake Eyes, which, having seen the trailer now several times, I'm kind of intrigued. I've said it before. I really like the first couple of G.I. Joe films, just in as much as they're just stupid, mindless Hollywood popcorn films, nothing groundbreaking, but were fun. And this, actually, even though it's a reboot of it, does look pretty decent. I'm kind of intrigued with it. And it looks far more like I thought it was going to be very much just Snake Eyes and not really showing much else of the G.I. Joe world. But by the looks of the trailer, there's quite a lot of other characters that are going to be in this. So we'll see. I'll report back next week.
Excellent. I can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
Snake Eyes is the G.I. Joe's the one thing I do love. Oh,
of
wait.
Course.
No, man. Yeah. But I'll be interested to know what you think.
Good, of course.
I always am, Dan. Your reviews are always
close
fun.
to Shang-Chi coming out, right?
We are.
Yeah, it's September. Where is it?
It's 3rd or the 6th, something like that, isn't it?
I can't. September 3rd. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah, because he's the main actor did a pop shot at Bob Chapek, who basically said that the experimenting with Shang-Chi, which is where this whole 45 days and then going straight onto it, just to see what it's like. So the main actor from it, I'm going to say his name completely wrong, but
just don't.
it's Simu Liu. Yeah.
It's his first name I'm unsure of. Is it Simu? Is it Simu?
Simu. I'm going to say Simu.
Like emu, but with an S.
He came up, he retweeted Bob Chapek's tweet to say that, basically it's a good experiment. We're going to do it. And he's like, we are not an experiment. We are here to raise the Marvel bar and do all this, that, and the other. And then so many people just start going, oh yeah, I'm going to get the pictures. Oh wait, no, I can watch it for free next month. Oh, I'll just wait then. And that's literally what loads of people have done. And I'm like, have Disney fucked themselves over? Because the one thing is, the Marvel films are always better in in the pictures.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
there's absolutely
And
no
this
denying
looks
it. I couldn't imagine going to see. I couldn't imagine watching Doctor Strange first
Yeah.
on a TV and going, "That was really good." That, but watching it in the pictures just blew my fucking mind with just how good the visuals and the effects and everything were, and the sound behind it. It's like the experience makes the Marvel films. Whereas, yeah, with this, like, the Phase 4 isn't exciting me. This is probably the one that's getting me a bit more like, ooh, because I love the martial arts and, Crouch Tiger, Hidden Dragon type of films and IP Man and all that sort of stuff. So this one, I'm like, ooh, it's Marvel mixed with martial arts. This is going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
But apart from this one, this is the only one really, I suppose Doctor Strange too, actually. So we shouldn't have started this because I'm like, oh, and actually. But yeah, it's just, there's so many, and now I keep on, because I'm constantly on Twitter now looking around and stuff. I keep seeing brand new like pics and clips and stuff, and like I didn't realize Abomination's like coming through and bits into it.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah. So you've had that one spoiled. Fair enough.
yeah, there's so much. I'm like, right, cool. But it's going to be the same again. It's the same with Free Guy. Like I've had loads of it spoiled already, and I'm like, it's only been out a couple of days. Like how the like, if I wanted to go to the pictures to see it, I'd like, and I did, because I love Ryan Reynolds, so always happy to support Ryan Reynolds. But I've had loads of support
he
now,
needs
so I'm
your
like,
support, Reg. He does need it.
Well, he did DM me, slid into me DMs and was like, Reg, I need your support, mate. Can I count on you?
Yeah.
And I was like, mate, all the way back from Two Guys and a Girl and the pizza place, I've always had your back. And he was like, cool, dude. And I was like, cheers, mate. And then we ended the DM slide. So,
Right.
that was that story.
Wait, so a DM slide is like an ongoing thing. So when someone slides into your DMs, and then they continue the sliding as the conversation is happening, and then when you finish talking, they slide out.
Yeah, it's like if you imagine a playground slide.
Okay, yeah. Well, the slide that tends to slide and then end.
Yeah, so it's just like that.
So are we talking a really long slide then while this conversation is happening? Well, I figured it was like you slide and then you land at the bottom, and that's where the conversation is. And then when you're finished, you just sort of get up and walk out.
No, that's not how it works. So basically, you need to have a
really long
quick
slide
conversation. Then. Yeah. So we had it was like a helter skelter. So it was like a really long, windy slide. So it was just about 3-minute conversation.
Oh,
so
no way.
It was like that. So
lots of twists and turns.
Lots of twists and turns.
Okay.
Just like the convo. So it was exciting.
Okay, got it.
But yeah, so now I've had that spoiled for me already, and like the majority of it, including the ending and stuff. I'm like, you know what? I can't wait. I can wait the 45 days and then watch it on Disney Plus. I know I won't get the full experience, and I won't get all like the fun things that you can see, especially with this one because it sounds so chaotic. It would be awesome to watch it on the big screen. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I might as well just wait for that one. So, like Suicide Squad, I have had a lot ruined for me, but I'm still very intrigued and would like to try and get out there to watch it in the pictures. So it's a bit of a mad one. Like, we are trying. I watched a really unbelievably bad film on Netflix though.
Okay.
What was it called? No, I'm gonna go 1 second. Resort of Love, was it? Resort to Love. Oh boy. So me and Ash were bored the other night, and we were like, what do we watch? We've finished watching everything we want to watch now, so there's got to be something.
You've completed Netflix.
Yeah, and I was like, so why don't you just start watching Your Handmaid's Tale? She said you really want to watch that, and she was like, yeah, but it's getting late now, and I know I can't just watch one. I have to like binge a few episodes every time it's on. And I was like, fair enough. Let's just hit Netflix on and see what's on Netflix then. And then she was like, right, okay. And I wasn't feeling great, so I was like, you just choose what you want to choose. I'm just going to die on the couch. She was like, right, okay. So you knew it was going to be bad when it was like, Alicia Keys presents. I was like, oh no, what's this? Okay. And it was Resort of Love, where basically it's a lady singer, Christina Milian.
Oh wait, does she buy like a ranch or something, or inherits a ranch some little town now?
No.
Okay.
I don't know what that is.
I could have sworn I've seen a trailer for this.
This one is she's a wannabe singer who's about to get her big break, and her fella basically just leaves her as like 1 week before they get married. So then she just goes in on herself and just like, no, I'm not ever leaving the house. I'm not doing this ever again. So misses a big break. Okay. And then her best friend's like, hey, after a singer in the fucking Mauritius or somewhere, like really, like very gorgeous location.
Yeah, I've got the trailer up here on silent, and I see they're at a resort. Yeah. So
she goes there and she doesn't realize that she's there to be a wedding singer. She thinks she's literally just there to be a singer. And she's like, oh no, I don't want to do this. I hate watching people get married because I was about to get married and it never happened. And then guess what happens?
Oh, don't say that the wedding is of her ex.
Dun, dun, dun.
Did I just ruin it? Oh, okay. And I apologize. The movie that I was thinking of, because the minute you said Christina Milian, this was a Christina Milian movie on Netflix. It's called Falling in Love, with "in" being INN, and she buys like an inn in this little country, a countryside village somewhere in backwoods America, and then falls in love with some guy who's like a handyman.
Wow.
But yeah. I feel like this is her thing.
Yeah,
she's now
really
doing really bad
movies.
Netflix rom-coms.
And I can't believe it's getting so many good reviews on Google.
Resort to Love is?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the best movie I have ever watched. I'm actually from Mauritius and it's beautiful, so tropical. I guarantee this will be the best movie you've ever watched.
Okay.
I'm like, no, it's so bad. Like, even when I was like dying, I was still like, why are we watching this? Like, just
37% of Google users like this film, 56% on Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, that's not that bad. Generally, if it's a bad film, it's in the 20s.
I trust me.
Okay.
Never watched this film.
I don't plan on it.
It was. I wasn't saying I knew you would, but whoever's listening to this, please don't don't ever put your eyeballs through it. It was so bad. But on the same time, it was a brand new film, so I watched a new film. So there you go. I did watch something which was quite exciting. But I've fallen down a massive rabbit hole because you know how easy influenced I am, and that I basically have no willpower at all to do anything. I was chatting to the lad in work the other day, Mike, and I was like, "So what are you up to?" Like, I'm bored. I've got nothing to play at the minute. And I was like, I'm just tinkering around. And he was like, "Oh, right, well, I've got really nothing to play." So I decided to download Final Fantasy 14 because you can get the free trial now up to level 60. And I was like, yeah, I've done that like twice now. And I don't know, there's just something about it that I can't stick with it. Like it was good, but it never scratched that wow itch. And the more he was talking about it on a day-to-day basis, the more I was like, yeah. And then he was like, oh, so what I've started doing is watching it, playing that while watching Community. And I was like,
okay,
yeah, that's a good mix. and then the next thing I know, I'm just sitting there with Final Fantasy 14 installed on the laptop with Community on the telly, and I'm like, how did I get to this? It's like I don't understand how I got to this, but apparently on my new laptop I already installed Final Fantasy 14, so I must have subconsciously gone, what do I need on my new laptop? When I first got it, I was like, Final Fantasy 14 I definitely need.
Yeah.
And downloaded that. But I was like, do I have time for an MMO? And then obviously at the time I thought I did, and then didn't because I didn't do it. And then started playing WoW. And then the more he was talking about them, I was like, I need another MMO. I need that itch to be scratched. So I thought, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to try Final Fantasy 14 again. Because the free trial last time was only up to level 20. And now it's literally up until like the second to last expansion.
Wow.
So you get like hundreds of hours of pure entertainment for free. And there's like about 6 different restrictions. One of them is you can't start a party, but you can join one. Like, you can't buy a house. Oh no. And you can't like whisper to people or talk to people. You've got to like just say it out loud in a community environment and hope someone sees what you're writing. But apart from that, you can literally do everything. There's no sort of restrictions on doing like the dungeons, the dailies, the leveling, any of the classes, the quests. It's literally all yours for nothing up until literally the second to last expansion. To the stage where
it's not even like a level cap like they often do to limit you. It's literally just play away.
Yeah, you play all the way up to level 60, and then they're like, hey, if you like it, please buy to continue. So I was like, I'm just going to start working my way through this again. And then I fell massively into it. And I was like, holy shit. And I completely forgot how amazing it is in the way that you can just, instead of creating like 100 different alts, which are like different characters in the game, you can literally just have, like I did with my guy, started off my guy as an archer. And then I'm like, ooh, 10 levels in, like, this is really fun. But I wonder what it's like if I give my guy the pugilist skill set. So I just ran over to the guild and was like, hey, can I be a pugilist? And they're like, yeah, just, kill 10 of these rabbits with your fists and then come back to me. I'm like, okay. So I went, done that, come back and like, hey, you're good at punching things in the face. You're now a pugilist. And I'm like, cool. And you can level up everything. Like, unlike WoW, where you were stuck with one class, as soon as you chose, like, that's it, I'm going to be a hunter, you were a hunter for life. That you couldn't change that. Yeah. If you wanted to be like a leather worker, if you wanted to, you could only be the leather worker and one other profession to go with leather working. So it'd be like skinning, so you could skin the animals and then use them to make the leather. With this, you can be everything and anything you want to be, and it's all in the one character. And that's just fucking amazing. So if you start getting bored going, you know what, like, I'm getting quite bored of this class, this isn't the one for me, just swap over to a different character. It's done so well the way it's done. And instead of having to like repeat all the quest lines and stuff, there's like dungeons and stuff that you can do to level up quicker, and they give you like an earring to put on your character to give them like a 30% extra XP boost, so it doesn't take you anywhere near as long to level up the way that it used to do. So you can just get to the levels you want to get to as quick as you want or as long as you want, and do whatever you want to do. And I've just started getting massively involved, and that's a stage where there's a new like event thing on at the minute called the Moonfire Fair, which is like the Dark Moon Fair that's in WoW, but they had to change a few words around. And the other thing I love about this is, so with WoW, when you see someone with a really cool mount or like an event mount, you're like, how'd you get that, mate? And it's like, what I had to do was sit through like 50 different dungeons like 8 times to collect one item from each thing, and sometimes it didn't always drop. And then I eventually go meet this guy, pay 10 grand, and then he combines it all together and I get this mount. With Final Fantasy 14, there's this dude riding a massive polar bear, and I was like, holy shit, how did you get that massive polar bear? And he was just like, right, just go over there and click on that quest and literally complete that quest and you've got the polar bear. And I was like, all right, cool. So I went over there, literally just clicked on the quest, did the little mini fate, and they're like, hey, go talk to that person, you got yourself a polar bear. And I was like, awesome. So I did that and got like the exclusive mount, which again, like I said, with WoW would take you like, a good couple of months, and you'd be lucky if you got it. You got this for just like one quest. Now I know you were laughing at the fact that it's a giant polar bear, and I could have like led off with something, because the amount of mounts in Final Fantasy 14, like WoW, is just insane. They've got like huge flying, amazing Magitech mechs and stuff like from Final Fantasy 3. Huge dragons and everything in there. That's like, they've got everything. So I know it's a bit daft where I'm like, a giant polar bear, but it was fun. And obviously the first one you get is the Chocobo. And yes, Dan, when you jump on the Chocobo, it plays the Chocobo theme tune.
Brilliant. I've just encountered my first Chocobo in Final Fantasy 7, by the way.
Oh,
yeah.
So
I stopped playing it for a while, but I jumped back on it yesterday purely because I've been engrossed in in Stardew Valley for the last 140 hours or something. But I'm pretty sure I've done everything I can now. I've pretty much completed. I'm just got to wait for the next update. But yeah, so I went back over to Final Fantasy VII, and it's really interesting, like seeing the story beats in the original that you play in remake. Especially because how fast it is getting to all these different points, whereas how drawn out 7 remake is. It's ridiculous. Like, I feel like if I was the other way around, I'd be worrying how on earth have they dragged this story out to make a 40-hour game. But I'm completely the other way around. I'm like, this is really rushing through it. Like, what? How come this part of the story wasn't? This bit wasn't stretched out and stuff. So it's bizarre. It's very strange. Sure, there's not a lot of people that do it backwards like I am.
No, it's certainly an interesting way of doing it, and I am very intrigued to know what your thoughts are. I've just hit the stage now where I'm probably going to spend the next like huge chunk of my time in. You may have been there in Final Fantasy VII. Have you been in the Golden Saucer yet?
No, I'm nowhere near that far. I'm only just thingy.
Just begun.
The Don's Palace.
Right, okay. Where are you going to cross-dress?
Yeah, basically, yeah. I cross-dressed, and then he didn't pick me, and I was like, oh, he didn't pick me. And then I had a quick Google, and I found out that I had to get some tiara, and if I don't get the tiara, then he's not going to like me.
Nope.
I got the lingerie, and I got my makeup done, and I got some sexy aftershave, but I haven't got a diamond tiara, so I need to go and do that. So I had to go back to my last save file, which was a bit too far away, unfortunately. But yeah, once I've done that, then hopefully you'll pick me.
Yeah, that's the fun thing. When I played it, the internet was like the penny a minute or whatever it was. So I was like, I can't ask me mum to go on the internet to find out how
I could carry on playing it.
A pimp to do it. So I was just like,
that's fine.
Like back in the day, you weren't aware of like, how do I get this to do this? I was just like trying to know. So literally, you managed to do it and managed to get picked just off the strength of like, exhausting every option because you didn't have the internet for 1,000,001 different games. It was just a case of you stuck with this, and you stuck with this for a while. So I'm like, right, okay, I'll make the most out of this then. So you literally like exhausted every single option, including doing the squat challenge and everything with the dudes.
Oh, that was fine. I did that first go. I was good with that. Got my blonde wig, so that was okay. Nice. But yeah, the Golden Saucer isn't even in. They talk about it, but you don't go to it in remake. It'll be in the next one, I'm assuming.
I'm hoping it's going to be like the one in Final Fantasy 14, because the one in number 7 is great, but it's not big. Well, no. That sounds daft because I know it shouldn't really be. It's just a little mini fun thing for you to do when you're there. But the minute you go in, I was like, oh, I wonder if it's going to have this. Oh, I wonder if it's going to have this. So you can do the Chocobo racing, which is part of what you're going to be doing then in Final Fantasy VII shortly.
Okay.
Where you're going to be training up a Chocobo if you want to. If you want to get the big Knights of the Round, like summon, which you do need and you do want. So if you can get it, 100% recommend doing it. It will take a bit of time to train up a golden Chocobo and this, that, and the other, but 100% worth it. But I've just found now they're like, oh, you're interested in Chocobo racing? I was like, yeah, I'll put a bet on Chocobo racing. It's like, no, you're going to be a trainer and you're going to race. And I was like, oh, shit. And it's like, so we're going to teach you how to train a Chocobo. I'm like, this is Final Fantasy VII all over again. So now I've just learned about all the different foods and stuff you can feed all the Chocobos. I'm like, this is interesting. But there's a game on it which is just stupidly addictive. And it's like you've got to climb to the top of this, like, it's not a build. It looks like you're in the middle of a forest and there's like trees and platforms, like tree branches that are falling down on platforms, and then you've got floating platforms and buildings across, and you've just got to race to the end and just try and make it within a time limit. And I was like, yeah, that sounds fun. And then all of a sudden, everyone else who's in my area just loaded up into the place as well. And I was like, oh, so I'm not by myself then. and it's just like 3, 2, 1, go, and there's just like about 50 guys just all running across like this tiny little branch trying to outdo each other to get to the end. And if you fall, you restart back again at the beginning, and you've got like 10 minutes to literally make it to the end of this like challenge. And it was just so much fun. Like, I couldn't stop smiling the entire time playing through it, even when you stupidly missed a jump and it was an error, and you like got so far, you're like, ah. I was just laughing to myself instead of being like annoyed or upset about it. I was like, cool, let's do that again then. And ran through, and I spent a good like 4 or 5 hour chunk just literally dicking about in the golden saucer. And I'm like, yeah, I love the golden saucer. I just completely forgot how much. And the thing I love about it now as well is they've included elements from like Final Fantasy VIII, which is the triple triad card game,
right?
Which is by far the greatest mini game in any game ever. Triple triad is just a great card game and game itself, and it's dead easy. It's literally, so you've got like a picture of whatever monster it is that you've got, and it's literally got 4 numbers on it. So like up, down, left, right, you've got a number on each of those, and it's on a 3x3 grid, and you just go against each other, and you've got to basically just top trumps, like outdo their number by it. It sounds really simple, but it's so fucking addictive. And now I've done it in the golden saucer. Like, the whole world is now open to you. If you see anyone you want, ask them if they want to play. And I'm like, oh no, this is not good for me, because all I'm going to do now is not do anything else apart from triple triad. And that's what I've been doing. I've been going from town to town, challenging people to triple triad that have the little card symbol over them to be like, oh, you're interested? I want more cards. So yes, come to me. And it's so bloody addictive.
This is like the card game in Witcher, isn't it?
Gwent.
Yeah, where everyone's like, you've got this huge, amazing story that you can be tackling. Yet you're like, let me just have a game of cards with you first.
Yeah, and that's literally what I've been doing, to be fair. Like, 'cause I was saying to Mike, who's like, I managed to outdo Mike like 3 days after me starting it. He'd been playing it for like 4 weeks or something. Just because I was like, I forgot how much I love this, and just got absorbed into it. And then I'm just like, oh no, now I'm just going to fall behind, because all I want to do is challenge people. And Mike's the same. Mike has built up like every profession, so like jewel crafting, blacksmithing, like weapon making, like all that sort of stuff. He's built up to like the best he can do, and his proper leveling character has just like not moved at all, because he's not done any like proper quests. It's just all his profession quests he's been doing. So I was like, don't do that, do the story, because the story starts becoming amazing as soon as like you have to fight Ifrit. It gets awesome.
Okay.
And then I literally just stopped doing any of the story now. I'm just going around going, where else haven't I been yet that's got a card on? Right, I'm going to go there. And just literally ragging around, hearing the Chocobo theme tune playing like a million times. But thankfully now I've got a polar bear. I can use that, and it doesn't play the Chocobo theme tune, so that's good. Because after 2 hours straight of hearing dun, 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 you're just like, oh please, something else. And I know I've been talking about this for a while. I need to you need to. I know you're not going to play it at all. I'm not even going to attempt to say, Dan, please play it, even though it is free all the way through. Okay. And you should fucking play it, because it is incredible. I unlocked Bard, the character Bard, and I was like, right, this is what I want to be, because I can move from a archer to a bard to a dancer. And I'm like, I want to be a dancer class, because the dance class in Final Fantasy is incredible. So, my big butch dude is going to look awesome, just like, doing all these amazing calypso moves and stuff. So I started becoming a bard, and I was like, this would be quite fun, just because, I think it's going to just be inspirational songs you can perform in battle. And I was very, very wrong. You can literally do like /perform, and then you get the choice of like any instrument you can think of, right? And it pops up on the actual, like a virtual keyboard on the screen, and it's got all the keys on it. Each button will be dedicated to a set key, and you can play the keyboard properly. If you choose electric guitar, you get the choice of, do you want a power guitar, like a weeping guitar, like what kind of guitar do you want to play on? And then the strings pop up and you can play the strings and actually tune it and stuff and do it all. But as soon as you become a bard, a terms and conditions box pops up saying you will not perform third-party music in this. Like, you're only allowed to perform like original pieces if you're going to do performances. But you can literally go into a town and people were singing that new Nicki Minaj, if it's up and it's up and it's up and it's done, or whatever it is. They were performing that like on harps and like bongos and stuff. And people are just playing like loads of amazing songs. And you've got like people schedule in going like, hey, tonight's concert's going to be like over on, you know, this city. And it's going to be like here. And people literally just rock up in like tuxes and stuff and sit down and just watch people do a proper virtual concert for them. Like, they actually did, what's the name of the Final Fantasy Orchestra? It's gone completely off the top of my head. They started doing a orchestra. What's the name of the album? Distant Worlds. Is that what it was? Yeah, Distant Worlds was the name of the tour.
Final Fantasy tour, yeah.
Yeah, where they went around doing that. They actually perform that loads. Just people sitting down, just playing that music. Actual people in the game have learned how to play the instruments to those songs and just sit there and play it, to the stage where I was like, oh, I wonder what happens if I can play the bongos. And then like you've got different pitches for the bongos, like whereabouts you want to hit it and stuff. And I got the bongos out, and loads of people just came and sat around me. I'm like, no, I'm just practicing. I've never done this before. And like a couple got up and walked off, and there's still some people sitting there watching me, wondering what I'm going to play. And I'm like, I'm not going to play anything. I've gotten really shy. I'm not going to play the bard anymore. But it's just an optional piece. Like, you don't have to do that, but the amount of effort they've gone into it is, honestly, mate, it's insane. It's so good. So good. So yeah, that's literally been my life. And we've started playing Bowser's Fury as well. Because I started playing Super Mario 3D World.
Yeah.
Well, we completed that, and then we've only got like once you complete it, the stupidly hard levels.
Have you done? Afterwards. Oh no, it's the same type of game as the 3DS version, isn't it? But it's based on the Wii U version, right?
Yes, the 3D World one is, yes.
Yeah, because the 3DS version, once you complete it, you get, or at least when you 3 coin every level, you get literally the whole another set of levels, pretty much exactly the same number of levels you've just done all over again, and you get to play as Luigi.
Yeah, so it's a very similar thing where you go up a warp pipe and then you've got like a shed ton of new levels and stuff.
Oh, and then you've also got Bowser's Fury.
Yep.
Wow.
So that's what we're doing. So we're like, oh, I wonder what Bowser's Fury is going to be like before we tackle the level we were on in Super Mario 3D World, because it was just fucking nails. So we're like, we don't get loads of time, so let's just try this new one and see what this is like, and we'll go back to the other ones. And it's brilliant. It was quite short, we thought, to begin with, because we were only on it for about like 4 or 5 hours, and we seen the credits, and I was like, that's a shame. But then all of a sudden it's like, hey, you're only halfway through. By the way, there's like another 4 islands that you've not even touched yet and opened up on the map. And I'm like, oh, but it's loads of fun. It's completely different than a 3D World one as well, which is nice. It's more like Odyssey type of look and feel to it in my eyes.
Okay.
But the second player is very weird, because you'll always have a second player anyway. Like, it's Bowser Jr. He will either be AI or like me or Ash that will control it. But there's no lives in it. It's literally just you lose coins, and if you hit like 50 coins, you get a power up. hit 100, if you hit 100 lives, you get 100 coins, you get a power up. If you get killed, you lose 50 coins. And if you don't have any coins left, it's like, oh, well, we can't take anything from you, but just do better next time.
Okay.
So it's like, it's weird how you'll never see a proper game over screen, which is really bizarre.
Definitely don't get that in the 3DS version.
No, not in the slightest. And that continues me. Yeah, me and Ash went through is ludicrous. But it's really weird. So the second player, because it's Bowser Jr., he just floats around everywhere with like a paintbrush, and no one is phased by him or pretends he exists in it. So you can literally just float around and do whatever you basically want to do. What me and Ash did is we used to take it in turns, and if there's ever like one of those blue coin collecting challenges where you've got a time limit to collect everything, it's like we just fly him off in the distance to get ready, because we know that's where you're gonna have to run to and be like, well, it's obvious it's going to be there. Cool, right? You fly over there then, and then we'll hit it. And by the time Mario's made it over, like 80% of the coins have been collected. I'm like, yeah, this makes it so much easier. So it's fun in that aspect, but he also seems just a bit pointless. So it's a weird one the way they've done it, but we're having loads of fun with it again. It's just nice to actually be able to play a game with Ash and on the telly and whatnot. So we are enjoying it, but it is a bit of a weird one. But playing it the way we are, I couldn't imagine them doing it the 3D world type of way. But the big Bowser kaiju fight is pretty awesome, to be fair, when you go the big cat Mario and you fight off Bowser.
Nice.
And you keep repeating it, which is really fun, because he just becomes a pain in the arse. Like he should be, because obviously he's the big bad, but it is like you get a certain time limit where the shell's just dropping down to the ground, and then all of a sudden he's like comes out as Big Bowser and just starts destroying stuff left, right, and center. And you only know it starts happening when it starts raining. You're like, uh-oh. And it's like, do we hide and wait for him to just disappear? And that's what we used to do after you've collected the certain things that he would destroy. We'd try and hide and just wait for it all to blow over. But the further you get towards the end, he's just like, yeah, I'm not disappearing now, guys. You've got me for good. I'm like, oh, no. So you've got to try and like collect the certain amount of cat shines to make a lighthouse shine, so he'll get shone and then disappear, or turn into the big cat, and then you can go and attack him and have a fight with him. But it's really fun. It's like an old game now, obviously, but like we're really enjoying it.
And I think, they're probably the closest you get to the old classic 2D Mario, but with a really good mix of 3D in it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's bizarre. I mean, I suppose that again, there was a 3DS and a Wii U one, wasn't there? That was like the new Super Mario Brothers, but something about those ones just didn't really grab me in the same way that 3D Land did and 3D World on the Wii U and on the Switch did.
We really enjoyed the new Super Mario Brothers until we realised that we're good separately, but when you put us together, there's something that just, I don't know what it is, but we're not as good together. We're not awful, so it takes us a lot longer to do the levels, and I don't know if it's just a slight bit of competition or what it is. To, like, even though you share everything in it, we're like, oh, there's a coin there, right? I'm going to grab that, and then she's like, no, I'm going to grab that. And so like, without even thinking about it, we're both just racing for a fucking coin and end up dying because we want to both be the one to collect it. So it's like that sort of stuff, whereas if you put us on our own, like we'll blitz through it dead quickly. Together, it takes us a lot longer to do it. But it's fun, but we only got about 3/4 of the way through that one, and then we were like, right, put a stop on that, and then we'll come back to it at some point. And we haven't ever got back round to it, so we said once we finish Bowser's Fury, we're going to go back and do the new Super Mario Brothers, and then I'll probably get Mario Maker 2, and then we've got another Mario one to play.
Yeah, see, that's the best thing. If you really like your classic Mario 2D stuff, just get yourself Mario Maker, because you've got tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Mario levels that people are making. Yeah,
I just hope we can find like the filter to not make them the stupidly difficult ones.
Well, they are all rated. You can see the completion percentage, can't you? So you can always tell whether if it's really hard, it's going to be like in the single digit percentage.
Yeah, I hope so. But yeah, it does look good though. I am rather looking forward to it. So,
well,
next purchase, I think.
Yeah, you play Mario. I'll stick with Final Fantasy VII, and one day, one of us will start to play a new game.
Yeah, well,
game.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Final Fantasy 14 is still new,
Yeah, it's still going. And to be fair, it's got quite the resurgence at the minute, hasn't it? Because everyone's dropping off WoW, and yeah, looking for a fix, and everyone's like, yeah, come over to Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, I was going to say they must. I was going to say they must be raking it in, but at the same time, if they're offering up to fucking level 60 for free, then yeah. Because the thing as well that I didn't realize is that if you buy the game, it wipes over the free trial, so you wouldn't get you then have to start paying. So if you bought it now, well, if you download the free trial now and played with me, and we're like, oh, this is really fun, but we want to play together, like on party mode, even said we could like Skype like this, whatever, but you want to like party chat in the game, like, oh, we'll just buy it now. Well, yeah, we'll both buy it. Then we have to start paying the sub for it instead of being able to free trial it up until 60 because we purchased the game and put in the actual code.
Okay.
It's then like, oh, you bought the game, cool, pay for it now. I'm like, but the
so you have to me
isn't.
Right. Okay. So you have to stick with the free version until you get up to where it says, right, there's no more content now for the free version. Now you can upgrade it.
Yeah. And then you upgrade and you still do it, which is crazy. To be fair, like, because like I said, up to level 60 where you get to try out loads of new classes and all sorts. Like I said, there's, you could spend your entire life playing Final Fantasy 14 on the free trial. Yeah. If you really, if your favorite classes are the ones that are included, then go for it.
And it's free on every system.
Yep.
See, I've been toying with playing Genshin Impact. I keep hearing really good things about it, and that's totally free unless you want to start paying for loot boxes and stuff, and I generally don't ever get that into something that I want to spend money on it in that way. But I would find it hard to justify spending my time playing that online when you've been trying to get me to play WoW or Final Fantasy 14 for trying to get me to play WoW for about a decade, right?
Easy. I think it was something like your 30th or your 20th birthday. I bought you the battle chest and come on, join me, and you're like, thanks for that. Like, I did buy you another present as well, but I just thought, it's a shot. Whereas now I don't have to. I can just say, Dan, look at this link.
Yes, exactly.
I know you'll never use it, but look at it. So there is that. But if you did, I would love to jump on with you and play with you.
I mean, of course you would. Why wouldn't you want to play with me, Reg?
Exactly. Although I don't know, I'd just be intrigued to know who you get. The one thing with Final Fantasy 14, which is great as well, is that if you don't really feel sociable, you could easily just get all the way through to the end, just being indulged in the story, playing a single player RPG, if you wanted to do it that way through.
Fair enough.
Which is just, it is great in that aspect. So, I recommend that as well. So definitely give it a whirl.
I will take that under advisement.
Oh.
That's what they say, right?
Sure, why not?
Right, well, I think we're at the end, Reg.
And once again, I have about 17 tabs open.
Well, it's your fault for talking endlessly about Final Fantasy 14 and how you got yourself a polar bear.
That's it, isn't it? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm not angry or disappointed because, I've got a polar bear. Do you have a polar bear? Anyway. It has been a pleasure. Never a chore.
Anyway, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank you will.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.